thank you so much for giving up a bit of time to do this. I really do appreciate it. I know you didn't have to do this, so thank you for that. Should we start by you telling us a little bit about the London Stock Exchange and maybe your role within it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And thanks for having me on. So, LSEG, the London Stock Exchange Group, has a plethora of solutions and data and analytics that serve people across the trade life cycle. So, whether that's pre trade, trade, or post trade. And within our group, we have a number of brands. We have the London Stock Exchange, and not just UK companies, but companies across the world can list in order to raise capital. We've also got FTSE Russell and its indices offerings, and then London Clearing House. So that kind of shows you the three key ones across pre-trade, trade, and post-trade. In terms of myself and our team, so I run the content channels team, and we sit within LSEG's marketing group. We cover blogs, we cover video series, and we do obviously podcasts. Our aim with all of this content is not to talk about ourselves, but to bring new and insightful content to our customers and the various industries that they work in. The aim of all of this content is really to raise awareness for LSEG and all that we do, because we are a very big company. So we're not just the London Stock Exchange.
Great. And of course, you mentioned podcasts there, which of course is where we're working together. We've actually been working with your team now since 2021, so 3 years incredibly. And it's two shows that we're helping to produce. I mean, obviously, you do a huge amount of the work yourselves, but we're there supporting you. And that's on the Sustainability Growth podcast and also the Hedge Fund Huddle, which is with your team in New York. Can you tell us the background to both of those podcasts and what you were hoping to achieve with them when you launched them?
Yeah, of course. The Sustainable Growth podcast has been around for some time. So 2019, I think it first started with our the then host, Keisa Shreen. She was in ESG marketing and felt there was a real need to obviously speak about sustainability. Sustainability has always been a massive topic for us, whether it's at the company level, the initiatives that we work on, and the targets that we set in terms of our footprint, but also the products that we have and the offerings that we give within that space. So it was a focus then and continues to be a focus now. Obviously, the show's evolved over time, and it's now got Jane Goodlin as the host, who's the group head of sustainability, and she's absolutely fantastic and brings an incredible energy to the show. And I think working with her, we've looked at who we want to speak to across finance, not just finance, but a little bit outside of it as well. Whether they're academics, asset owners, banks, we're always trying to find that connection between sustainability and finance and where the two interlock in cases where it's less obvious. But yeah, we've had some fantastic guests. And I think the main thing is really to showcase everything that we do within that space and raise awareness. And then the other show is Hedge Fund Huddle, a little bit more new. So it's only been around for about a year and a half. That was Erica Vujovinich's brainchild, really. She works in trading and banking, and there was a missed opportunity to speak to our hedge fund community. So we felt that we needed to direct some content and, dedicated content towards them. And that's her and Jamie McDonald, who's the host, do an incredible job of coming up with really thought-provoking topics. And the last one was around commodities trading and really the impact of geopolitics and natural disasters and how they play a role in commodities. And yeah, so I think they just bring awareness to everything that we do and all the information that we have at hand within our company.
Yeah, well, I mean, we love obviously producing both shows, but the content genuinely is interesting to listen to as well, which makes it all the better. You mentioned obviously the other types of content that you produce, things like blogs, etc. Where do the podcasts sit within that overarching strategy for content?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we definitely don't want to create content in silo. All of our podcasts are linked back to our bigger campaign. So we have themes within sustainability. So whether it's the green economy or D&I. So there's various themes within all of our segments. And whether it's a blog, whether it's a podcast, everything gets connected back to a related piece of content or a broader campaign. It's always helpful when there's reports going out as well to have, a guest speaking on the exact same topic. It just helps bring everything together and build a better picture of all of the content and offerings that we have. And there's also not just a content strategy, but there's also a podcast strategy across LSEG. So we are picky in terms of new shows that we create, and we don't want to create content for the sake of content. We want to think strategically about what our audience wants to hear, which customers need to be spoken to, and what would be most interesting to them. So when we create a new show, we think about where it would sit in the landscape and does it make sense and is it needed?
There's clearly a lot of podcasts within the financial sector. How do you differentiate yourself from all those other shows that are out there?
I'll speak mostly about the Sustainable Growth podcast in this instance because it is the one that has the most competitors. Like there are numerous sustainable financial podcasts, and all speaking to very similar topics as well. So I think the things that we focus on and I think differentiate us is one, our host. Jane Goodland is very personable, she's very likable. I think in some shows they can be very serious and too corporate. And while we are a corporate, we want to be human, we want to be friendly, we want you to enjoy listening to us. So I think a host is really important. And that also applies for Hedge Fund Huddle. Jamie is incredible at making people feel comfortable and also having a bit of a laugh on the show rather than it being business, business, business. So that's something that I think is one of our differentiators. And then the other piece is the topics and the guests that we choose. So I think I've said it a few times, we're trying to find a unique perspective to things that are already being talked about because they are being talked about over and over again. Things like, ESG and AI, for example. AI is everywhere at the moment, and it's trying to find new angles to these discussions.
Yeah. I'd add to that actually, just from my own sort of experience of listening and supporting your production of it, is that both of those hosts that you mentioned are experts in their field as well. So as well as being great hosts, they know how to, no, but genuinely, they know how to then dig deeper for the right questions to ask. So
I think that journalistic approach without being a journalist, but also the industry expertise goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. One of the questions that is key that we always get asked by all our clients is in terms of measuring success. How do you measure the ROI on both of those?
Yeah, it's a little tricky because it's more about brand awareness for us. So it's not a lead generating piece of content. We're not looking to see how many leads we get from it, but obviously we use the same sort of usual tracking methods as our listeners on Spotify, on Apple, our YouTube performance, our .com page views, really bringing all those pieces together and having an overall view of how it's performing.
Has it met with your expectations?
Absolutely. 100%. It's continuously growing and we get wonderful feedback telling us how unique and alternative the perspectives are, but also, people wanting to be on the show, requesting to come on, and people suggesting other contacts that we should have. So I feel like word of mouth has gone a long way, and it came up recently in a Forrester focus group. So Forrester do customer insights, and they were doing a C-suite level one on sustainable finance. And someone mentioned the Sustainable Growth podcast and said that it was one of the best out there and that it was a great resource to use. So when you hear stuff like that, you're very, very happy.
Definitely, 100%. Was there anything then, aside from that, that kind of like you weren't expecting that's come out of the content that's been a real bonus for you?
So that's probably like the great feedback and the external side of it, but internally there's a huge appetite for it, which is really, really exciting and really lovely to see that people want to use it as a channel, and it's seen as a fantastic way to grow our brand, and continue kind of developing on what we're already doing from a brand perspective.
So without kind of picking a favorite, because obviously all your guests have been fantastic, but any particular highlights over the last kind of couple of years?
Definitely been a few. I would say Justin Keeble from Google Cloud, when he was speaking about AI and the impacts on sustainability, obviously very topical. And Dr. Richard Peterson, the CEO of Market Psych from the hedge fund Huddle. That was an episode all about the psychology of trading, and it was absolutely fascinating. So those would have to be some of my favorites.
Listen, Lauren, I really do appreciate you giving up, your time, as I said at the start. I've just got one last question for you. If there was another finance brand looking to produce a podcast series of their own, or any leader for that matter, looking at using podcasting for their business, whether it's for internal or external comms, what would your advice be to them?
I would say find a good production partner. Like or dare.
Wow. That is very kind of you. Wasn't expecting that one.
Welcome. Always good to have you there and partner with us. And the other piece I would say is, there's so many podcasts out there, and there's so many great ones, and that cover everything across all spectrums, really. I would say, really look at who your audience is and what they want to hear about, and how you're going to bring something different to them. And, I think just take the plunge, because what have you got to lose? And you'll only find out once you start going.
That's great. Lauren Reilly, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.